Giovanni.
There we go. Welcome to everybody.
We officially live. How you doing?
I'm doing amazing, excited to deliver some value for our audience. We have a jam-packed session for them.
Yes. So real estate. So we probably helping at least 300 families between purchase and selling. We've seen a lot through those many experiences, and we learned so much. So today's subject is gonna be sharing those specific mistakes that we notice, how to prevent those,
Yeah,
because when buying a house, you're not buying a car for 5 years for 30, 40,000. Nowadays in California, you're spending six, 700,000 at least for the next 30 years. So for
correct.
many families, it's one of the biggest investments that I know.
For a lot of the ones that we've helped, it's the biggest investment that they've made. So it's something that we take extremely serious. And more than anything, I think within our team, we like to pride ourselves on education, educating our clients on exactly what we're going to talk about now, the do's and don'ts on how to make a successful transaction.
Yes. So let's start with the first one.
Let's do it.
So something that I notice when we do open houses, Giovanni, the whole team, we see people that come to the open houses ready to buy their home, but they don't know where they're at. I'm sorry. What I mean by that is like they haven't got pre-qualified.
Right.
They don't have an agent. They're like, let me do it myself. I do everything, and it's like changing the brakes of your car, changing an engine.
Hmm.
Never done it before, and thinking you can do it all.
Yeah.
You have to have a professional, someone who has done it before.
Without having the profession on your side, without being represented, it's like 50 Cent says, like you're a window shopper. You're not really out there doing things the right way. And we've encountered it many times where we meet families at an open house and they're not pre-qualified, they don't have an agent, they fall in love with the property, and they're in a position where they can't really do anything.
Yes, and the reason we say one of the biggest mistake on that one specifically is because we ask, hey, how long have you been looking for a house? Oh, 3 months. Do you know how much down payment you need? Do you know what will be your mortgage payment? They don't know all of that. And in some cases, we met families say, I want the house, let me buy it. We set up an appointment with them. And when they finally see the numbers, how much is the payment, they don't want it anymore,
Yeah.
or they're not ready on the credit. So to me, that's one of these mistakes. Before you even start buying a house, hire a professional. Hopefully it's us, the one that you guys choose, but hire a professional, someone that knows exactly what they're going to be doing, someone that can guide you through the steps.
Yeah.
Because the first step is, getting pre-qualified. Well, why every single real estate agent almost tell you that? It's because you're going to know exactly how much you can qualify. That will let you know what cities and type of home you can purchase, how much down payment or money you're going to need out of pocket, or if you need to apply for a down payment assistance program. Also, if you don't qualify, they will let you know exactly what are the things you need to do. So the time that you find the house, you're like, let me get it. That one is mine.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you say like we're guys throughout the process, but we're like professional handholders. When people go into purchasing a home, for many of them, it's their first time. They don't really know the steps to take. They don't know contracts. They don't know how to successfully do a transaction. So we're technically hand holding you step by step throughout the entire process. That way you feel empowered. That way you feel comfortable with ultimately the decision that you're making because it's where you're gonna live. It's a big deal.
Yes. So tell me, what do you think? One of the do's and don'ts.
Well, let's talk about, especially in this market, that it's a spring market. It's where it's getting a little bit more competitive, right, compared to the winter and fall. Um, I want to talk about buying power. Like what gives a buyer power, what gives a seller power, and more than anything today, with like let's say the interest rates around where they're at, how do you correlate that with the competition with let's say other buyers in the market when you're going into it?
What do you mean by that? You get me
Like
confused.
let's say right now, okay, we know interest rates are hovering anywhere between like let's say 6 and 7%, correct? And right now we heard some news, yes, that interest rates are going down.
They
They're
going
going
down.
down. So a rhetorical question is like, as interest rates go down, what do you think that's going to do to all the buyers on the sideline?
Well, few things. Number one, the whoever is buying right now, like if you qualify for 700,000 at 6.5 rate, if rates go down just have a 0.6%, probably that qualification will help you buy at least 750. So
Hmm.
that will allow more people to put higher offers on the same cities that they looking to purchase. So in my opinion, I think prices will go up. It's not drastically. Don't think, oh, the home is gonna go up 100,000, but expect at least 20,000 more on offers because of the lower rates. And also more people will feel more confident because one of the biggest things I heard in the last 2 years is like, I don't want to buy because rates are too high. I'm
Right.
gonna wait for them to drop. So as they start coming down, more people will come back into the market to buy those houses.
Yeah. It's like supply and demand, right? The more people want something, the higher the prices go. And especially in the case where, buyers are getting more affordability with the rates dropping, they're qualifying for more, their mortgages are getting a little bit more affordable. People's eyes start to open up in regards to, okay, well, maybe I can afford purchasing a home, or that mortgage payment looks a lot more comfortable towards what I was expecting on the first go around. And that demand creates more pent up interest for the market, right? So just like your point said, it is causing an influx in prices.
Yes. So now one of the biggest mistake is affordable. What I mean by that is like in some cases, let's say husband and wife they qualify for 400,000
Hmm.
income, and they're like, you know what? Let me bring my mom and my dad to co-sign, but they're not gonna live with me.
Right.
That's a huge one, so they can qualify for more. So now you're able to qualify for 700,000. You purchase the home, but mom and dad are not gonna live on the property. So that what it means by that is like when the bank say, "Hey, you can qualify for 700," it's considering three or four incomes at that moment, thinking that 50% of that income will be able to make the payment. But if mom and dad, as an example, they're not living on the property, they're not going to be making that payment. So now you probably super tight on your income compared to the payment. So to me, that's one biggest mistake that a lot of people do, that they add more people to the loan in order to qualify for more, but they don't take in consideration, that the monthly payment that you're gonna have, even though you got the house, and that put a struggle in some families. That in the past, we had families that we didn't know that the co-signers are not living on the property. The co-signers were not paying the house, so now they like going back and reselling the home because they're not able to afford the house anymore.
Right.
They feel super tight on the income.
Yep.
So yeah,
Exactly. And,
so
and that's why we always specify, it's like, let's say you can have the ultimate approval, you can qualify for the, have a pre-approval for over $1 million, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're comfortable with the $1 million payment.
yeah,
Right. So it's like we like to hand the both things off. Like, say, what do you qualify for? What's your max? And more than anything, for our first time buyers out there, it's like, what are you comfortable with paying a month? We go based off of that. That way, we can guide you into like what home can get you the monthly payment that you'd be comfortable
yeah. And the banks, the way they do it is easy. The math is easy.
with.
Get the income every month. You can 50% of that can go to the mortgage. Simple
Right.
as that. Why they do that? Why they don't allow 80%? So what if I'm making 10,000 grand a month? Why they only allow me to make a 5,000 mortgage payment? Because they know you have groceries. They know you have utilities, extra expenses as a homeowner, como el jardinero, probably water bill, etc., that you didn't used to pay before.
Yeah.
Gasoline, trips, expenses for the family. So they want to make sure that you have that extra 50% for those extra expenses in today's life. So that way you don't feel tight, because if you make an 8,000 payment on a 10,000 income, you still have to pay taxes, you still have to pay a lot of things. You're not going to be able to make it or survive.
Yeah. And people got to live life, right? We factor all those things in as well. That way, like whenever you get pre-approved, like, okay, on factoring in everything else that has to be taken into account, you're comfortable with the mortgage payment.
Yes. Give me another one.
Okay, let's I see some topics right here in regards to sellers, right? If someone's out there considering selling their home, how is price important to them? And how does, let's say, for example, in this scenario, pricing your home too high, and how could that affect you ultimately selling your home?
Whew, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's a big don't, yes.
Okay. And this is why it's a big one. So a lot of people when they're buying a house, the first impression is what matters.
Yeah.
If you put it too high, because keep in mind, your home won't be the only one selling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's going to be multiple homes for sales within 1 mile radius. Okay, so any buyers when they go and shop for houses, they're going to compare. Okay, well, how many houses are available for sale at in this city? And always by nature, most people they're always going to choose which one is the lowest one on price
Right.
automatically. Okay, so when you put it too high, thinking that someone will submit an offer for that, you just allowing more days on the market
Yeah.
to be on that property. And like dating, when someone has been single for too long, they start asking what's wrong with this person.
Uh-huh.
The same goes with the houses. So when a house has been on the market for too long, you know, more people, might wanna offer a way lower price because you already passed the prime time. That's my opinion, and that's
Yeah.
what is true.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the longer days on market, more questions arise. And like one thing that like I do want to touch on is like that sometimes when a home is on the market for a lot longer, there's price reductions, right? And
Yes.
the big misconception within, like, let's say the public is that like, oh, price reductions are happening, then home values must be going down.
Nope. They
Exactly.
just
Why don't you
they
touch
just
on
live
that?
a, they just live a fantasy land. That's the correct word.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So every time you sell a house, make sure you ask a professional.
Correct.
Don't think because you added a new flooring that will increase the price 5 times. No. You know, most people when they buying a house, they compare. They're gonna compare, location. They're gonna compare sizes. They're gonna compare conditions. If you have a pool, yes, it's gonna have a better value versus a house that doesn't have a pool. But a kitchen is a kitchen. Every house need a kitchen. Don't think because your kitchen is brand new, your home is gonna be worth 100,000 more.
Right.
Because probably for the next buyer, they're not gonna like the white cabinets. They're gonna tear it down and they're gonna put probably brown or dark colors. You don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now that you mentioned sellers, always hire a professional.
Oh,
Oh,
but Edwin, I could sell the home on my own. I don't need an agent.
they can do it, but statistically, they will get less money for the house. I was reading an article. I believe they get 97% than what the house can sell for.
Right.
It's a for sale by owner. But what I mean, hire a professional. I seen it, and I seen it recently. Just we took over a listing. We were able to do a better job, but we're able to sell it.
Yeah.
It's a house in LA that we sold,
Right.
where the listing agent it was a 1.2 million dollar homes. Commission wise, it's a good commission. But guess what the agent did? And I noticed because hasta la sombra se miraba en una foto. They took their phone. Hopefully, at least they had a good phone to take
Yeah.
photos. It was a remodel home,
Mm-hmm.
so they did horrible photos, bad photos. They didn't do staging as well. So always say, like for example, us when we get a listing, we never take photos with our phone. We
Right.
don't take even photos with our own camera. We hire a professional company that goes. They do the professional photos. They do the professional. One second. They do the professional Matterport. Where you're able to walk. In that house specifically, we're able to put physically staging furniture so that home buyers can see it the way it's going to be laid out, and we were able to solve it. There was
Yeah.
two agents before us, two different agents, two different companies
Mm-hmm.
got the leasing, were not able to sell it.
Yeah.
So to me, hire a professional.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's like if you're gonna have a heart surgery, You don't want to hire un novato. You want to hire.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
If I'll tell you this, touching on your point, if all it took was putting a home on the market, like let's say on the MLS or on Zillow to sell it, I'm sure a lot more of them would be successful. But it takes more skill than that, right? It takes the right marketing plan, the right effort to be able to put together a plan and ultimately get more people falling in love with the home online before they even visit it. And once they
Well,
visit it, then boom.
but back in 2020, back in 2021, yeah, all
Hmm.
you have to do is just put the home on the market without even photo, and it would sell.
Yeah,
Now it's completely different. Now you need a professional and a professional job in order to get it done. Okay.
absolutely. And that's what we specialize in.
Yes. Tell me more.
Let's see. Okay. I'm getting a question here. First time buyers and down payment assistance programs.
Okay. First-time home buyers. So first-time home buyers, first of all, if you own a home 10 years ago, you lost the home, and as long as you don't have a home for the last 3 years, you can qualify for most down payment assistance program as a first-time home
Correct.
buyer.
Hmm.
In some programs, there's one right now that we have a 20,000 grant.
Correct.
If you sell, next day you buy, you consider first-time home buyer, and I'm sorry, you can apply for that program.
Correct. There's a lot of state programs, especially like where we're at in California. With Cal HAFA and so on and so forth. They're always releasing new programs every single year that help the first time home buyers. Right. Sometimes people have great income. People have the credit, but because of living style, they don't necessarily have the savings accumulated to be able to fund their purchase with down payment and closing costs. And it's for programs like these, they step in and they're able to help you alleviate that burden of being able to get yourself into a home. Through down payment assistance, they can help you with the down payment of your home. They can help you with the closing costs. That way, that chunk of change that typically people would have to save to go in with, now it's being taken care of through these state and federally backed programs for people to get into their home. And now everything else gets alleviated where it's a lot simpler.
Sure. Perfect. So, okay. Let's see. Buying a house. Let's focus on buying a house.
Sure.
Oh, don't credit. Do not get things on credit when you got pre-qualified. Super, super important. One time we even had to almost cancel a transaction because they went and buy furniture, almost 10,000 of furniture. They had a monthly payment, and that kind of affected the approval. So make sure if you're buying a house, make sure you lower as much as possible the debt. That will help you qualify for more. Make sure if you're a co-signer for someone, they don't add more things to the account, because if you're a co-signer, that means you own that account as well. So they're gonna take that in consideration.
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure you have a good FICO score. Okay. Yes, you can buy a house as low as 580 FICO score, but the higher the FICO score, the better the interest rate you can get on a home.
Hmm.
Okay? And the lower rate you can have, that's mean you can qualify for more, or you can have a lower payment.
Yeah.
Okay. And something you can do, just always think about it. If my credit card is $10,000, make sure you always have it less than 3,000, 30% or less. That will help you increase the FICO score. When you have credit cards up to the high balance, it doesn't help you FICO score.
Yeah. Not only is the usage important, making your payments on time, but like not tapping into those maximums, right? Just like you said, like if your limit is 10,000, the lower you could have that limit, the better for you in regards to reflecting with your credit score.
Yes. Money, savings. Uh,
I want
what?
to I want to put my money under my mattress, Edwin. Could that work?
Nope. Or for you, for anyone else, but just for,
But I
because
want I want to buy with that money to purchase my home.
so
Can
if
it?
you're gonna do that, make sure you make the deposit as soon as possible in the bank account, because that money has to be at least 2 months on the bank account. If not, they're gonna question those cash deposit. In some cases, you won't be able to use it. So
Yeah.
that's number one. Make sure the money is where they can see it. Okay, so that's a big one. Two, never. Another thing is never skip a home inspection.
Hmm.
That's the biggest one because when doing a home inspection, that's what that's it. That will let you know what is wrong with the house. Doesn't mean the house has to be completely fixed, brand new, etc. You're always gonna have things on the property, but that will let you know. It's an optional home inspection. A lot of people say, I'm gonna skip it. Oh, you know what? My dad is a construction guy. Don't worry, we don't need it. Do it. It's gonna cost you probably around $350 to $400 for the home inspection.
Hmm.
Gonna let you know exactly what's wrong with the property. Now, when you have the right agent next to you, you're gonna be able to negotiate a good amount of money depending on the home inspection. Right now, we have an escrow right here in the city of Whittier, by the way,
Hmm.
where they giving us 23,000 on repairs.
Yeah.
When at the beginning they told us property sold as is. So technically, they told us that on the counter offer, property sold as is. My clients were scared. Oh no, Edwin, I don't want it like that. Yes, I told them, let's open escrow. Don't worry about it. I'm a professional.
Yeah.
We will take care of that. We did the inspections, we get the estimates and everything else, and then we requested some items. They came back with 15K, and we're like, nope, let's go back to it. So we went back to it, and eventually the final number was 23,000.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's what I mean. Who you work with matter because for us, it's not a first transaction. We have done hundred of transactions in the past, so we know how to negotiate on those for our clients.
Right.
In this case, our client is the buyer, so we can negotiate for them. We had another case 2 years ago where the foundation was damaged, and we were able to negotiate 35,000 for those repairs.
We see it all the time, right, Edwin?
Yeah.
We see it all the time. Sometimes, like, let's say when sellers get back to us and they say, "Hey, we're selling the home as is. Do not expect any credit. Do not expect any reparations." For the most part, some people will shy away from that. We embrace it because we know our tools going into it, like the home inspection and everything that we can do. If we uncover things within the property that technically would take some money to repair, that gives us as agents for our clients some leverage. Ultimately, the seller wants to sell the home. If they really want to sell the home with whatever conditions that it's in, we're able to negotiate more on behalf of our clients and help alleviate their scenario.
And I will give this secret to anyone who's looking to buy a house.
Hmm.
Like the
Nice
camera.
little zoom in. See, it's
Yeah,
perfect.
good information. I'm gonna leave it like that, so I see eventually I'm gonna zoom out. When you're buying a house, look at me in the eye. When you're buying a house, if you're looking for closing costs, houses that has been on the market 30 days or more, those are the ones who are more desperate
Hmm.
to sell. They already passed 30 days on the market. So those are the ones who had a high chance of giving you closing costs.
Right.
The house that has been on the market 7 days or less, who has that probably has multiple offers on the table, they're not gonna give closing costs. It's a lower chance. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a lower chance.
They have more options. They have more attention on their property, different selections in regards to offers on the table. The seller's going to go where it benefits them the most. But
Yeah.
like you said, if it has 30, 60, 90 days on the market, chances are they don't have anything on the table. So as agents, we're able to negotiate a lot stronger, getting more benefits for our clients.
Yes,
It's all about knowing the plays, right?
that is true. Now, here we go again.
It really wants to pay attention to you.
I know it is a camera, by the way. When buying a house, also a lot of people find the right home, and it happened. They find the right home. Usually, when they start looking for houses, we send them a lot of houses. Say, please choose 5 to 7 houses.
Hmm.
You always gonna choose the best ones first. That's by
Correct.
nature.
Yeah.
You go see the houses, and they love one of the houses usually, and they tell you, I don't want to submit an offer yet. I want to continue looking for more houses. But let me tell you what happened. When you continue looking for more houses, usually they don't find what they look on the first house. When they want to go back to that home 2, 3 weeks later, that home is no longer available.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so if you see the home, keep in mind all the people are looking that same house the day before, the same day as you. They're probably submitting an offer. So don't wait for it. When you find that home, make sure you say yes and submit an offer right away.
Correct. Correct. We've seen it happen on several occasions.
Yes. Talk to me, Joe. What other things
So okay,
notice
so like
you?
let's talking about like let's say maybe some don'ts, like right, like changing jobs or opening new lines of credit. Um, how can that affect a buyer in the process?
Changing a job, if it's in escrow, that can delay because you have to wait the check.
Mm-hmm.
If it's before escrow, that's fine, as long as it's the same line of work. What I
Yep.
mean by that is like, if you get paid by salary or W-2 or by hour, if you go to another job that is the same way of payment, that's fine. You won't be, most likely, you won't have an issue as long as there's not a big gap of jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you, let's say we're working for a company, construction company, that will pay you by the hour, okay, W-2. You say, you know what, let me start my own business and now you're gonna become a self-employed, that you don't have a secure income, you will have to wait a year or 2 years in order to buy a house.
Correct. And we've seen it happen.
That's
You
it.
know, it's like we advise. Do not do this. Do not make anything drastic. Like you were mentioning earlier with the furniture purchase and opening new lines of credit. It's like every little thing that we tell them from the beginning. It's important to take that into account. That way, you're not affected throughout the process.
Yes. Now, let's talk about any other mistakes, do's and don'ts before we switch the subject.
Um, let's talk about okay. One big thing that always comes up with buyers as we're working on them is like how's the school district, how's the future development, how's even the crime rate. You know, sometimes neighborhoods are fantastic during the day, not so much at night, and vice versa. How does that affect, like, let's say reviewing neighborhood data or getting the feel for the area when you're out purchasing? Because you might fall in love with the home and it's not necessarily in the right area, or you might have the perfect area and it doesn't necessarily mean what you're looking for within the home. So how would that, like, let's say, be a don't for you?
To me, the way I see it is like location, because what you school district, the crime rate, and everything is being location. To me,
Yeah.
location is the one. You can find the most beautiful home, but it's in the wrong location. You're not gonna be able to leave the house and move it to another location.
Mm-hmm.
So location matters a lot, you know. And the good thing nowadays, everything is in the palm of our hands. On
Right.
the device, you can go to many websites. You can see the school district, what is the rating. Also, there's a lot of crime rates websites where hasta te lo ponen por tonos. They make it
Yeah.
easy for you. Like dark blue is mean like don't get into that community. Light blue
Mm-hmm.
like good to live in that community.
Right. Right.
They make it easy for you to understand what is the crime rate depending on the location.
Mm-hmm.
You know, drive at night, 9, 10 p.m., so you have a good feeling on the property.
Right.
A different time frame, you know, it's a lot of traffic, it's a lot of cars parked on the street, etc. You know, do you see any type of activity you don't feel comfortable with? You know, like for example, I had a client that they were about to submit an offer on a home. In this case, if you're familiar with LA, Figueroa is not the best location for
Mm.
nightlife on the
Sure.
streets. So they drove by and they noticed Figueroa was super active. So they're like, no, Edwin, you know, we have kids. We're not going to be able to live in this location.
Mm-hmm.
Even though when we went on Sunday morning, the location looks clear and nice. So things like that is the small things you can do in order to make sure that you buy the right location more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How about this one? This one's always popular for us, right? Um, prices are gonna go down. The market's gonna crash. I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for that to happen before I purchase. What's your take on that?
Woo! How
Yeah.
many people have lost an opportunity to own a house
Yeah.
and now they're not able to buy? Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A lot of people try to mark. try to time the market when it's not possible. You buy when you feel ready. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Back in 2017, people were like, "Oh, my compadre me dijo prices is gonna go down every 7 years. They always go down. Never happened. 2020, because we make phone calls to
Yeah.
positive buyers. They were
Mm-hmm.
like, "Nope, prices is gonna go down because the economy is closed down." A few months later, property were selling 100,000 more than the price was before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
2021, people were thinking, I'm not going to buy because everyone who's not making the payments right now, they're on deferred payments, they're going to be a lot of foreclosures. The government stepped in right away because they know what happened in 26, 27, and they make sure that didn't happen. You know, 2022, I think a lot, it was more like people saying, oh no, I'm not going to buy, prices are way too high.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to wait for them to go down. But there were 3% rates at that moment.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. 2023, and I'm giving you the whole history in the last
Of
5 years.
course. Yeah, we need to elaborate.
2023 rates went up to 6, 7%. Oh
Mm-hmm.
no, now the rates is going up. So what I'm saying is, so far I haven't seen prices go down. You see a small adjustment, but what I mean is like super fast and not a big difference. It's not going to happen. The only way prices to go down is simple. You know, people will have to stop working. People have to stop buying a house. So that way, the people who are selling a house, they don't have no one to sell it, and they're
Yeah.
gonna be forced to lower the prices.
Correct.
You know, so far the economy is stable. You know, so I don't foresee people stop buying houses. The other way is, the other way is the opposite. You know, what we notice right now in the last 30 days is we're seeing a lot of demand on houses.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like you notice that because we work with a lot of buyers. When we submit an
Mm-hmm.
offer, there's a multiple offers on the house. There's
Yeah.
not one. They told yes, we already have a few offers on the table. So so the demand right now is super high, and it's normal. It's a spring season, so don't expect prices to go down.
Yeah.
The only thing that's happening, and it happened to many families, they just end up buying something at a higher price point.
Correct. It's like what we've noticed is like when people attempt to time the market, it doesn't necessarily work out. So instead of waiting to buy, instead of waiting and timing the market and waiting to buy, what do we recommend? Buy and wait. Because
And
in the long term, you always end up winning with real estate.
yes, and I'll tell you this because when you buy the house, you need a roof no matter what.
Correct.
Unless you live with mommy and papi, that's a different story. You don't pay anything. You know, but if you're independent, you have your own apartment, you have your own house rent, or you have a family, etc., you need a roof on top of your head. You have two options. Either you pay yours, belongs to you, and you get all the benefits and the equity and everything else, or you pay someone else. They get all the benefits of everything.
Correct.
Okay? So let's say Gloria, she just put a comment right now.
Okay.
What is really good do in real estate?
Hmm. I mean, I think the biggest one that we always talking on the buy side, right, is get yourself pre-approved. Know the numbers, know your scenario, know the based off your income, your credit, your savings. What can you qualify to buy? Instead of like what like we were talking about earlier, instead of going out there to open houses and window shopping without knowing what you qualify for, get an assessment of your scenario,
Yes.
right? What
And
do you?
even though you're going to buy it 2, 3 months later, so a year later, set up an appointment with a professional so that way you know the steps you need to do in order to buy the house. That's one of the things. Two,
Yeah.
hire a professional. There's
Mhm.
many agents. In last year, 2024, 70% nationwide, 70% of licensed agents sold zero homes.
Yeesh.
You want to have someone who's a full-time agent, someone
Mhm.
who's a professional at what they do. Especially nowadays that you have to sign a buyer's agreement. What it means now, back then you can work with an agent, not have any agreement for that person to represent you. Nowadays is normal 3 months agreement.
Mhm.
If you hire the wrong person because you didn't Google, so the good thing nowadays, most people have Google reviews, Yelp reviews. So go into that and see them, or making one-on-one interview so you have the feeling of that person.
Mm.
Hopefully, you choose us. That will be the main goal. But because we had a situation recently where they signed an agreement with another agent, they didn't like the service, they didn't provide a good customer service. We're looking for houses. They contact us and say, hey, you have to wait until that finish. Eventually, that finished that agreement, and within 2 weeks after that expired, we were able to put them in escrow, and they're super happy with us.
Yeah.
Hire a professional. So that's a do. You know,
A
and
reliable team that knows what they're doing, a reliable agent that can represent you well.
yes, okay. So yeah. Any other do's in real estate?
Let's see. Let's take a look at the chat. Is it still a good time to buy in SoCal? Dude. So what I always like to say with that is if it aligns with you and your goals, your financial situation, absolutely. Right. But once again, touching on our previous point, it's like try to get away from the idea of being able to time the market.
Yeah, it's a good time. If you can rent, the answer will always gonna be yes.
Correct.
Okay. If you can afford the payment, the answer will be yes. You know, of course. Are you gonna pay more than whoever purchased a home 10 years ago? Yes. Is the person who buys 10 years from now will pay more than the person who buys today? It's a high chance
Yes.
the answer will be yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, everything is more expensive nowadays. And one of the reasons is because income is higher now than before.
Yeah.
Minimum wage is higher now in California. So
Yeah.
everything goes hand in hand. Uh,
Cost of living. I mean, even just to buy eggs nowadays, even that's more expensive.
hopefully they go down, by the way. Okay, let's see who's on the chat. Uh,
Okay.
Miss Cifuentes, she joined on Instagram. I just want to say hi. Jessica, she's also online. Jessica asked us a questions. What kind of questions should we ask an agent before we decide who to work with?
Mm, that's a
Number one,
fantastic question. Go for it.
if it's on the listing side, is what will be the marketing more than anything? Okay, what will be the marketing? That would be number one. Number two, of course, fees. You know. Now keep in mind, if you pay cheap, you're probably gonna get cheap service
Mm-hmm.
marketing
Mm-hmm.
as well. Okay. On the buy side, ask them, what exactly they're gonna do when looking at a house. I always say it's better to work with a team than work with a solo agent. Why? Like we can put ourselves as an example.
Yeah.
You're not available to show a house, Giovanni. I go and show a house. You,
Correct.
the agent on the team, go and show a house, or vice versa. So always someone will be available instead of working with one person who do everything at once. We have a process of how to do everything so everything goes smooth as possible for our clients.
You have more tools at your access through working with more than one set of hands.
Yes. I want to say hi to Andrea on Instagram, also a Jose, Sebastian, Angelica, Chulili. That's how I see it on the Instagram. Mirta, Luz, also on Instagram. Kimberly and Luz is asking us a question.
Okay, love it. Bring it on.
Do you offer online webinars to go through the buying process?
Absolutely, absolutely. So one thing, especially working here in SoCal, is like we're familiar that there's a thing called traffic, yes.
Oh
And
yeah.
sometimes, buyers they want to get pre-qualified and they want to get pre-qualified now. They don't necessarily want to wait for the weekends when they have a day off to be able to come in. So one thing we also offer are online consultations. Now something that's extremely famous is a thing called Zoom. I'm sure a lot of us have heard of that. And all it takes is 15, 30 minutes to hop on a quick Zoom. We'll get you an assessment of your scenario, see where you're at, and then at least it gets the ball rolling for you, right? Now okay, this is where I stand. If I wanted to buy in today's market, this is what I can afford. Maybe to your surprise, you qualify for what you want. Awesome, we can start looking right away. Maybe you don't, and that's where, like, let's say if you're not quite where you want to be at, we need to set a plan in stone. So we re-emphasize the pre-approval. You don't necessarily have to visit us. We can do an online consultation to at least get the ball rolling for you, get the intro, the footwork done, and then we start working on those things like your credit, your income, your affordability. That way, like let's say, okay, I want to buy by the summer, 3 months away. I wanna be in my home before the kids start the new school year, right? These are conversations that you want to be having now, so we can be able to get you steps along in that process.
Closer to the dream home.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so what is happening on the market today?
Yeah.
So one thing, and it has been on the news. What? So rates are going down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this week specifically, we have seen the lowest rate from 2025. Why
Correct.
is that? Is because of the whole situation that has been with the tariff with different countries. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are moving their stock market money into the 10-year bond,
Yeah.
and because of that, the rates are going down. So if you're looking to buy, make sure you update the pre-approval letter with your lender, so that way you know exactly if you qualify for more. If you have a home with a 6.5 or 7% rate, refinance. Today might be a good time for you to refinance on a house.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, today's market, something we noticed prices, you're gonna find more competitive market in April. We noticed more offers per house as long as the property is listed at the correct price. So you're gonna notice paying a little more for the house, and it's gonna get more difficult as we get closer to the summer.
Absolutely.
Why is that, Giovanni?
Kids are getting off of school. Families feel more comfortable with making those moves from areas and regions because now they're not necessarily tied to, okay, my kids are in school, I can't move right now, I can't move them during the school year. So we always see it pick up around this time when school starts ending, the summer they're off, and like right before, once again, the school year starts, they want to be transitioned into their new property. Always happens year after year.
Perfect.
We call it the peak season. Not only is the summer hot, but the real estate market is hot.
That's true. So don't wait to buy a house. If you feel ready to buy a home, buy it now. You know, that's one of the biggest do's I was gonna tell you. The biggest don't try to um, time the market,
Yeah.
because what is gonna happen, you know, instead of you winning the market will win you. And we've seen that in multiple occasions with different families where they're like ready to go, they decide not to put the trigger, and then eventually they end up buying a house. That's a good thing, but they end up buying a house at a higher price, higher rate.
Yeah.
Just secure the house, secure something that belongs to you already.
Hmm. And more than anything, for those viewers out there, like, hey, I want to make a move, but I don't know where to start. The encouragement would be to reach out to us. Start off with the intro call. Visit us in person, set up an online consultation, get an idea of where you're at, allow us to educate you on the A through Z process of what it takes to purchase a home. That way you're more informed on, okay, programs that are available, more of the do's and don'ts. What can I do? What shouldn't I do? And so on and so forth. That way, the dream of being in your own property, being in your own home becomes a lot more accessible because now you know what it takes. Now you're allowing us to handhold you through the process. And more than anything, you're taking steps in that direction. So I definitely, that would be my thing right now for anybody out there watching that, is dreaming of owning a home or at least wants to get the process started. Reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you. And then more than anything, use us as a guide for what you want to eventually do.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Don't forget, you can find us on Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok now. Hopefully, it doesn't get banned, by the way. But yeah,
Yeah.
so we everywhere we want to help you guys purchase or sell a home here in Southern California with a go-to team. Thank you,
We'll see you
everyone.
guys soon. Thank you.